Every time you click on a video by an urban critic, you get the same spiel. Cars in suburbs are bad, bikes and subways are great, and every city would be perfect if we got rid of stroads and built more mass transit. The same lingo, the same worn out, already explored ideas being reiterated by priests preaching to their choir. Listen, I agree. I live in New York. I use the subway to get everywhere and I love it. I love the city and I harbor a distaste for the suburbs. And I'll say that, but I'm only going to say it once. Because nobody wants to hear the same thing restated in 1,000 different videos. What really makes a city magical, what's drawn billions of people to them over the last couple hundred years, is a little harder to grasp than its walkability or the extensiveness of its transit system. There are things to do, story, diversity, creative energy. Here, just to show you the power of intangibles. To the ignorant eye, this is just a sleek water fountain. But once you know it's the 9/11 memorial, the structure gains a huge amount of emotional weight. 3,000 people died here. A skyscraper collapsed in front of the nation's eyes. It evokes a lot of potent feelings. The same can be said about a city. New York wouldn't be New York without 9/11 and Ellis Island, or without the Wolf of Wall Street, Friends, and a million other cultural and historical influences forming this idea of the city in everybody's minds. The same can be said about any city, like Vegas. Looking at the strip from an objective point of view, there are lots of places to lose your money, a bunch of flashing lights, and some tourist traps with gilded stakes. Would anyone really visit Vegas if they didn't hear all these mythological "what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas" stories from a wild uncle or crazy friend? I don't think so. The point is, the idea of a city is just as important as its physical self. Without the legends and myths of a city, it would be nothing. And it's just so bizarre that no one talks about that. Another thing that's totally overlooked by Urbanist YouTube, a city is made up of its people. And so if you want to study a city, you gotta talk about the people and communities that live in it. One of the things I love the most about New York is that you can be in downtown Flushing, a bastion of East Asian culture where 3/4 of the signs are in Chinese or Korean and 95% of the residents are East Asian, and then you can walk another 15 blocks and end up in a totally different world in front of a Hindu temple in a neighborhood where everybody's South Asian. So many cultures are so proudly cultivated and maintained in such a small space, and that brings up this really interesting conversation about segregation. We want and need people of different races to intermingle, but we also don't want to force them to give up their culture to move out of their community. The question then becomes, how do you come up with a solution? How do you organize urban space so you can both reap the benefits of diversity while also allowing cultural communities to prosper? I want to answer that question. In fact, I'll be releasing a video about it in a week or so. So if you want to see that, then subscribe. This is my first YouTube video and it really means a lot to me to see that other people are loving urban spaces like I do.